What's going on, guys? So finally got some parts in and got my E91 scanned. Turns out it's the eccentric shaft sensor thing with the Valvetronic system. It's the eccentric shaft sensor basically is what I'm gonna be replacing. So basically I'm gonna have to replace the whole valve cover, which the dealership actually did before I bought the car, so that kind of sucks. Fortunately, they're gonna send me a check for $1,000, which more than covers the parts and, you know, covers my time. So that's cool. But yeah, basically it's gonna be a valve cover gasket replacement job. So, you know, at least I'll know that the replacement was done right because I'm gonna do it. FCP Euro actually sells a whole kit. So it comes with the sensor, the Valvetronic motor gasket, the eccentric shaft sensor gasket, as well as the valve cover gaskets and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's pretty reasonably priced. It's under $300 for the whole kit, so not too expensive. So yeah, should be fun. It's an easy job, but it's just a time-consuming job, so it's probably gonna take me a few hours. So I'm hoping to get some good info for you guys, and hopefully this helps you guys out. Let's get to it. So for the valve cover gasket replacement, you're going to need a few tools. Namely, you're going to need a couple torque wrenches. I have a 3/8 and a 1/4 inch drive. You could probably get away with one of them, but I don't know. I like having both. Obviously you'll need a ratchet or two. I have a 3/8 and a 1/4 inch ratchet, a couple flathead screwdrivers, a pick perhaps, you may or may not need that. We'll end up needing a Torx T30. You'll need a 5mm and a 4mm Allen head either socket or hex key. You're going to need a few sockets, namely you'll need a 8mm sockets, 10mm sockets, 13 and a 5/8 or the metric equivalent. That one's for your spark plugs, which you may or may not need. Then you'll also need some E-Torque sockets. I had to use a E8, E10, this is also E10, E14, and E18. I have a socket adapter to convert my 1/4 inch drive to a 3/8 drive. Various extensions as well as universal joints for your ratchets and sockets. And then I have a trim tool which I use to remove the crankcase hose that attaches to the back of the valve cover. But so this is basically what you're gonna need. You know, throw in some string as well if you want to tie up your wire harnesses and stuff to make some room for you when you're taking off the valve cover and putting it back on. But that's about it. Alright, so hopefully this is a good enough angle for you guys. Basically I'm going to have to start with taking off this little all this plastic trim that's connected to the wiper cowl. I'm going to remove this guy and this whole thing, the right and left sides, and then that should allow me to remove the plastic engine cover as well. I'm also going to have to remove that little strut bar brace thing to just gain access to it, so let's do it. So yeah, let's start with disconnecting the little air quality sensor. Should just be able to rotate it and then get it out of the way, maybe. So that's right here. I'm just going to disconnect the harness, click, and then rotate this guy. Okay, so here's that. I'm going to plug it back in so I don't have to mess around with it. So this harness runs along the inside of the trim panel, so you'll just have to pop these little clips off. using a flathead screwdriver here. So I'm gonna pull off this cover right here. There's a couple little rubber pieces that hold it right here in the corner, and then there's a couple clips here as well on the front and back of the cover. So I got that off. Set that there for a second. Our air quality sensor is disconnected now. I got here's the little clips that connect to this plastic piece right here. So set that aside. Now I'm going to take off some of these 8mm bolts. There's a few around this cabin air filter cover, and then a few more holding this trim down. So we'll get that taken off. So once that's done, you've got the whole filter right here. This is brand new from the dealership. So they just replaced it before I got the car. So I'm going to set this aside. Take off this cover. Take off the cover for the brake fluid reservoir. Again, they're just tabs on the fronts and backs. And then a little rubber nub over here. So now there's another 8mm bolt here, right here on this corner. And then on the opposite corner, and then I think that's it. So I'm also going to remove this little plastic wiring harness carrier. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and undo these plastic tabs and get the actual wires out of here real quick. Okay, there's that. Let's go ahead and just pull these wires out. Maybe I'll just take it off as a whole. I've taken the clip off right here. I'm just going to move this loom to the side. Make sure you get these little rubber nibs off as well. You're going to be holding it down. So that's one right there. And now I can slide this guy out a little bit. And I've got one over here on this side as well. Okay, so that's loose. And I'm gonna have to take off this little harness holder because there is some more wires and shit that's attached to the bottom of this trim, but figure it out, these just kind of pull out. There's some little tabs here, but you just give it a little pull and it should come out. Maybe. Ooh. Okay, so this dusty guy is now off. Yeah, so there's these little tabs and it just clicks in this way. So like I said, you can try to maybe fit your finger, maybe a screwdriver under here to release the tab so you can pull it out, but pulling it out just works just fine. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I now can pull this wire loom out over here. Looks like there's some tabs here that I just have to release. Okay, there's that. Okay. That side. One more here. You just pop them out with your fingers. Okay, so now that that's there, I can maybe get this wire loom out of the way. Maybe. Okay. Okay, so there's that. Clip this bad boy back on so that I don't break anything, and now this should be free to remove. Alright, so there's that. What a pain. So now with that out of the way, I'm going to get this strut out of the way. So all I have to do is just, there's a bolt right here. Excuse me. And then there's this cap right here, which I'm going to grab a flathead screwdriver for that. Turn this cap and then try to get this out of the way. Just give it a little quarter turn, and it's another bolt right there. Okay, so I actually might have to stop here and grab a socket. I think I need a reverse Torx or an E-Torx, E18, and all I have is up to E16, so fuck. So I actually found my sockets. I knew I had another set. Yeah, so I do have an E18 socket, so we shall continue. So yeah, it's just down here. Give it a couple of zaps. It's on there pretty good. Okay, you don't have to take it out, you just gotta loosen it because the strut brace is slotted. And this one I will have to take out. This is an E14. Okay, like that. Now this guy should just be able to pull, slide right out. Got a little hole for it. Yep, so got that side out. And yeah, I only have to remove that one side, so now we have access. So I'm probably going to go ahead and disconnect the battery so I can disconnect the battery cables and whatnot and just flip these out of the way so I have access, like full access to the valve cover. So let's go ahead and disconnect the battery real quick. I'm just going to undo the negative terminal in the back, so let's do that. Alright, so I disconnected the battery. All I did was just remove the trim panel that covers the battery in the trunk, and then remove the ground or negative cable, and just put a rag under it, set it aside, just so it make sure it doesn't actually contact anything. And then I also put a rag near the trunk latch, or the latching mechanism, just so it doesn't close and I can still get into the trunk easily for when I have to reconnect it. So now we're going to go ahead and disconnect some of these wire harnesses. Okay. So I'm going to remove this plastic cover that exposes these two positive connections. So I'm going to unbolt those. Let's open up this box over here and see what we got in here. See what I can disconnect as well. Okay. Okay, so this guy's locked, or unlocked. There's just some locking tabs over here that you gotta slide out of the way. Okay, so there's some tabs right here, over here, and over here that you just have to lift up, and then this box will open up for you. And I'm assuming they're on the back as well. Yep. So that's going to be kind of harder to release. Got it. Okay. cover, and now we have access to all of our electrical, and it's a mess. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and undo both of these positive terminals. One appears to be a 10. Okay, so let's get this 10 off real quick. Ugh. Okay, so it's disconnected. I'm going to put the nut back on just so I don't have to worry about losing it. And then now we got this. Yep, 13. Okay. Alright. 13mm nut is off. Now this positive connection, a little dirty. Can go over there. Put the nut back on just like the other one, so I don't have to worry about losing it. I guess I'm gonna start just unplugging some shit over here. Hopefully I don't fuck anything up. Okay, so I'm gonna undo this green guy in the corner. Okay, got that guy. Definitely gonna undo this ground right here. So I can lift that one out of the way as well. So yeah, I undid the ground cable right here, so that gives me enough slack on these wiring harnesses. So that should give me enough room. Hopefully, we'll see. Hopefully I don't have to remove anything else. So yeah, let's get the engine cover off. There should be four, I think 4mm Allen head bolts that are holding this particular black cover on. I think the silver cover, it's a little bit different. They are 5mm bolts. So this one in the back corner is missing, so I'll probably go and pick one of these up before I reinstall everything. Okay, that. So now this cover should come right off, hopefully. Okay, there he is. Okay, so everything looks pretty clean, as it should, because the dealership, replaced my valve cover gasket before I bought the car, so yeah, I'll probably clean up a little bit later on, but I can definitely see that my eccentric shaft sensor has got some oil leaking, so they must not have replaced this gasket, I guess. But yeah, it definitely is not a good sign, so let's go ahead and start disconnecting some more shit. Alright, let's go ahead and disconnect the Valvetronic motor. Just harness right here, give it a little pull. We'll disconnect the eccentric shaft sensor as well. I don't quite know how this releases. I think I just need a flathead. Where's my flathead at? Where's me flathead? Okay, so we'll go ahead and lift this guy. Okay, there's that, and there's definitely some oil seepage in the sensor, so that's not good. So set that aside. So now we can get these the wiring for the ignition coils off. So should just be able to pop all these guys out. Okay, so there's two ground straps for the ignition coils. So just break those loose. I'm trying not to lose these little baby bolts. I'm using a 5/16 socket. Set that right there for now. Okay, I'm going to remove the ground. Now I should be able to remove this coil pack harness. Okay, that's released. All the ignition coils are off. Okay. How do I get this out of the way now? So, probably gonna have to undo some of these wires. Okay, I'm probably gonna undo these sensors here. I think it's like the Vena sensor. So there's just a little clip right here. Can't get it off. Come on off. Okay. This harness right here. This one goes to the lower connection, just for future reference. We got this, probably what, oil pressure sensor. We got the oil pressure sensor switch. I'm assuming could be temp. Got that. Another one over here. Gonna remove that. Okay, so now I should be able to get this fuel injector rail off, and then I should be able to just flip it all out of the way, hopefully. So it should be held on with a bunch of clips, so I should be able to just pop those off and I think should be good. Try not to lose your clips. If you can disengage them completely, that'd be ideal so that they don't come flying off and you don't have to force anything. So I'm just totally pushing these off of the rail itself so that they're sitting on the actual injectors, I guess. And they're not gonna fly off on me. Okay. Wish I could get a better pic for you guys, but could not. I'll try to show you guys what I mean. Alright, there's that. Yeah, so I just have them basically sitting on the injectors themselves, so it goes around here, around these guys, just like your typical harness. Similar to one of these guys, right? And typically you would just kinda, well, that's a little different, but the wire clip basically just sits in here. And so what I did, I just pried them down with my screwdriver and just released them from this guy, from the rail, and just popped them right off so that they're sitting down there and they're not flying off, and I basically was able to just lift the whole rail off pretty easily. So all you need is a flathead screwdriver. So I'm just gonna gather my clips up. And then I'm going to put them back on the rail right here. These just kind of, again, try not to lose them because they're they're cheap, but you're gonna end up paying shipping for these guys, and it's, you know, shipping's pretty stupid expensive right now. Okay, that's that. So yeah, you can see right here how those clips, or those little wire clips, kind of pop on. So yeah, they just kind of lock the injector in place. So hopefully I could just click it on during reinstallation. We will see. Alright, so now that I have this off, I can flip this guy over to the side along with this whole rail right here, and I can pull it away from here. Real quick, I just want to show you guys some of the stuff that I had to disconnect. So I put it back, but I ended up disconnecting this coolant line because I'm going to need to move it out of the way so I can flip the harness up and over the coolant line. But there's a couple sensors right here, or harnesses, that I disconnected. There's still one right here that I'm going to disconnect. And then there's one right here that I'm going to disconnect as well. And those are bolted in. Also disconnected the oil related sensors right here, these two. So now I'm going to go ahead and unplug the ignition coils. They should just pop out. Okay, so I'm also going to remove these spark plug tubes. This one just happened to come out on its own. For the ones that are stuck, I'm just going to take some snap ring pliers and just kind of you know, expand them so I can get a good grip on it, and then just pop them out. Okay, that's all of the ignition coils. Now it's time to remove the Valvetronic motor. This guy right here, right? So I'm assuming they didn't replace the gasket when they did the valve cover gasket. But yeah, basically there is a 4mm screw or something right here in the center of the Valvetronic motor. And I'm going to turn it clockwise, so towards the front of the car, all the way until you start to feel tension, and it basically puts it in service mode. Then I'm going to unbolt these two inner bolts, which are they're small, I think they're like E4 or something like that. There's also a smaller E-Torx nut that's holding down the center of the Valvetronic motor. But yeah, once I undo those bolts, then I'm going to turn my 4mm Allen key towards the back of the car, so counterclockwise, in order to, it's sort of going to push the motor out of the valve cover. So let's go ahead and take my Allen key and put it into service mode. Okay. Turning, and it could be a minute too, like it might take a few turns before you actually feel said tension. Okay, it's not moving anymore, so it is in service mode. Set this aside and start undoing that small Torx bolt. A little 1/4 inch drive socket, ratchet, okay. Okay, whew, almost lost it. Got the little bolt out. Okay, and these bolts are not tight, so I'm just gonna break them free with my ratchet, and then I'm gonna twist them by hand after that. So, okay. So I'm just gonna spin these loose a little bit, and then I'm not gonna take them out fully. I'm just gonna leave them like partially threaded, and then I'll use the motor itself to push it out from the valve cover, and then that way it doesn't like totally spring out. Okay, that should be good. Okay. Okay, so let's grab my Allen key, and again I'm going to start, I'm going to rotate it counterclockwise, so towards the back of the vehicle, and that should get the motor to pop out. There it is. And so that's why you kind of want to leave the bolts in. Actually almost lost one of the bolts. Luckily it fell onto the firewall, or onto the strut tower. Yeah, so that's it. That's the Valvetronic motor. As you can see, so you got like, this is that middle tab with the small E8 bolt that I took out earlier. Okay, so yeah, here's the back of the valve cover. Here's your breather hose. Yeah, you have to push on this side and then on the opposite side, but you can't really fit your finger back here, right? So what I did was I just took my plastic trim tool, stuck it in like this. So yeah, stuck it in like this, and then you're able to access the back side of that breather hose, and then I just kind of pushed it against the valve cover right like that, and I was able to create enough pressure to pull it off. So yeah, mine was quite a bit easier to take off, and that's probably because it was removed, 3 weeks ago. So it might be a little bit harder for you guys, but hopefully that helps you guys. So, alright, breather hose is off. I'm gonna go ahead and just undo all the bolts for the valve cover. That way, I have as much access as possible. I can move shit around if need be. Once those bolts are removed, I'll string everything up so that I can easily pull the valve cover off. Alright, so these back ones are just kind of a pain in the ass. It's just hard to see exactly what you're doing. So yeah, so like I said, some of these don't really need a wobble in the back. Like this center one definitely needed it, but like this one, it was easier without a wobble socket. This one on this passenger corner definitely didn't need it, so I wasted, you know, a good 20 minutes trying to fucking make the wobble sockets work, and ultimately didn't even need them. So if you can avoid it, avoid it. Okay, so that should be all the bolts now for the valve cover. So I'm going to try and get these guys strung up real quick, and then that way I have a little more clearance. Got my trusty pink string, which I've used on all my other valve cover gasket jobs. It's definitely come in handy over the years. This should be good enough. I'm just going to snip that, and should be able to loop these out of the way. Alright, moment of truth. Should have all these bolts are loose, so I should just be able to essentially just pull the valve cover up. Got my wiring harnesses stringed up and out of the way, so once I pull this, I've got a trash bag that's sitting to the side of the car that I can place this on so I don't get oil everywhere. So let's go ahead and lift this guy up. Ah, you fucker. Got it. Fuck you. Ah, what a fucking pain, dude. Shit. Alright. That fucking sucked. My back is killing me. So basically what I was getting caught on was this fucking, this AC line back here. There's some clips and stuff that make it appear that the lines should be pushed back a little bit further and would normally give me more clearance, but these are, I mean, I'm able to push them back, but they definitely will not hold. Oh, it's because the plastic clips that are supposed to push them back are broken. So right here in this corner back here, so I basically had to push this fucking hard line back as hard as I could, and then the ECU box was also kind of getting in the way of that back corner. So fortunately obviously, hey, I got it off. So yeah, all I have to do is I'll clean the valve cover gasket, I'll clean up these parts, the mating surface on the head. I got to replace the eccentric shaft sensor, and then I got to clean up the valve cover, and should be able to reinstall everything from there.